All righty. Well, good evening, everyone. This is Ron, and a little after 6 p.m., we get started. Yesterday, we talked a lot about the the family reunion, if you will, the Camilla's accepting her nomination.
Kamala.
Huh?
Kamala.
Okay, Kamala accepting her Kamala. Sorry.
Kamala. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about that, and I like the energy that that generated. So we went into that. We even talked a little bit about what's going on in Northern Africa. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, uh, nicknamed the Middle East. What's going on in Israel with the bombing again, and looking at that from a spiritual perspective. Uh, so we talked about a few other things that I if don't rightly recall right now, but we had a very energetic discussion on yesterday. So we'll start today to see if we have any questions. Uh, I think Steve came on first and asked a question. Steve, would you like to repeat your question for everyone?
I would. I may not pronounce it correctly, but it's called. With what was Africa called before Africa? It was called. It begins with an A. I think it's spelled Alkenbulan.
Okay.
Kabulon.
Yes, a Cabelon.
That's correct.
Hey, good morning. Excuse me, good evening. Everyone, Steve is my dearest friend. Um, and he called and asked a question, and I just said, "Hey, man, it's Monday. Um, let me introduce you to this group where you can get a, a. It's not a quick lesson. I'm not gonna say a quick lesson. Yeah, Rev, just break that thing down to him about what a cable on, the maneuverability of it, and all the good stuff that come with it, if you don't mind."
The simplicity of Kabulon is that the word means the garden of mankind, or as you said, the garden, what we call the Garden of Eden. And it is not about the name of Kabulon is not just the landmass. It is the spiritual essence of what Africa is, because um, it is the origin of all mankind, and is also the origin of all spirituality. And all religions had their genesis in Africa, but all of them did not have their genesis in a Kabbalah. And what I mean by that is this: religions see with their eyes and project through rituals and physical what and physical things that you can see, like the choirs and etc., the buildings, the pews. A Kabbalon speaks to the spiritual aspects of all of mankind, meaning that it is not restricted by religious doctrine, neither is it denominational in any way whatsoever. It is simply the the universe guiding us. And when I say universe, I'm referencing the creator of everything that is, uh, um, guiding us in this walk on earth. Uh, Religion has been a system of separation because of the different denominations. However, Kabbalah brings everyone together. The spirituality brings everyone together, and it seeks to remove humanity from this sense of separateness and bring it into one place under one banner called spirituality, because spirituality existed before religion. And I would appreciate if someone else would speak to this as well. I think in the beginning it was it you, Barbara? Who said a cable on?
Was-
Yeah.
Reverend Richard
think
or
you're
Miss
about-
Barbara, is it safe to say a Kabbalah is not a religion?
That's what I said. It's not a religion. It's different than religion.
Okie doke then.
Barbara Jean?
The other thing I would add is that we know who we are based on not on religion but on spirituality, because we are spirit, and we know more about ourselves after functioning under the illusion of what was reality. That's what we've been functioning under. When we thought that our experiences began when we were brought to this nation, this country. Our experiences began in the Kabbalah, and those spiritual principles of Ma'at are the principles upon which everything is foundational in terms of mankind's and humanity's need to behave or act in certain ways, and some of those principles are I invoke laughter. I live in truth. I give blessings. I speak with good intent. I praise the goddess and goddesses. I'm humble. All those principles are positive affirmations that remind us and keep us in the now of who we are. And we also said that even principles, the Ten Commandments, if you look at the Ten Commandments and you look at the principles of Ma'at, which were available thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, you will see that the Ten Commandments even came from the basic principles of Ma'at. And so, in terms of our understanding who we are, we've gone back to those principles, or we've uncovered those principles, which were really not apart from us, were in us, are in us always. We've uncovered those, and those are the principles of the universe by which we live.
Thank you. Beautiful summation. Love that.
So the Bible is not the first Bible.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And if you're talking about the Bible as a book,
Yes.
what
The Bible
we're talking about
as in the King James Version. Because
right.
I know
What
there's
we're talking
there's other versions.
Right. What we're talking about goes beyond the written word. It was not always the written word as written down by a human. We were the word. We are the word.
So
And
you
there's
said
so
it
many
was
things
written
that
in our
have to do it.
essence?
Sorry?
You're saying it was written in our essence?
No, not Christianity, spirituality. That's who we are. We're spirit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's in our essence.
Yes, sir. It is
Okay.
the essence of who we are.
Did that help, Steve?
Yeah, it helped some. But I was wanting to put out of print. I wanted to put my eyeball on something that was written down or in a book. But I understand what you're saying. Long before it was written, it was already in our essence. Like we were born knowing that our parents was the teachers and not to follow us, but we needed to follow our parents by their teachings. That's why this Bible says, train up a child.
Um, I think that we need to take this a little bit further. The question is, how much of the truth do you want?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Okay, you go get it.
Okay?
The Bible was written. It took 1,000 years for the Bible to be written, and the reason being is because the sacred writings of Kemet or Egypt were stolen by the Greeks, and the Greeks and the Romans came together in meetings that brought into existence a religion called Christianity. Christianity came from an idol god that the Greeks created in Egypt. And
Constantine.
it came actually before Constantine. It came with Serapis. Serapis was the first European to sit on the throne of a pharaoh, and he demanded that he be made a god by the priests in Kemet, and the priests refused, so he had them beheaded. And all the priests of whom I speak are Cushites, and he
Is that
finally
before Amun Ra?
no, there is no such thing as before Amun Ra, because Amun Ra has always existed. Amun Ra is no different than what we call God.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm giving you the a summary as opposed to every detail. And
Okay.
Serapis, Serapis were created by Ptolemy, who was the first European to sit on the throne in Egypt. And so the image of Serapis was the image of Ptolemy, who was a European European pharaoh. And he had a coin minted with his face on it. And the coin that was minted with his face on it eventually became the face of Jesus. And how that happened is they met at Ephesus. They called it the what was it? Come on, help me, someone. At the
Council of Nicaea. Is that the one you're talking about?
The Council of Nicaea first. Yes, thank you, Audrey. And out of the Council of Nicaea came the Council of Ephesus, and it was at the Council of Ephesus where they said that they adopted rather the principle that Serapis was the savior, because Ptolemy called himself Ptolemy Soter, which means savior, and they carried that on to the council at Ephesus. And when they did that, the name that Jesus had from the beginning was not Jesus. The Greeks called him Zeus because they said that it needed this image needed the name of a god, and it did not become Jesus until the J was introduced into the English language, and from Zeus came this entity that we call Jesus. And out of this group of people, these priests out of Rome, coupled with the desires of the priests in Greece, what they brought all the writings together, and they began to write what we call the Bible. If you've heard of the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, they lasted for close to 1,000 years. And the reason they call it the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages is because at the end of it, enlightenment was supposed to have come, which means that during that period, they were writing what we call the Bible. And I'll get to that in a moment. It took them 1,000 years to do it, and the first Bible printed was the Gutenberg Bible at the end of that period. During that period, the writing of the Bible that took place was for the purpose of instituting control by Europeans throughout the world. And what they did, they made this Jesus a real entity in the minds of people. However, if you look at the history during that period of time of Jesus or his disciples or Moses, all of them, there are no historical markers that speak to the existence of Jesus. Therefore, Jesus was a person, a made-up person in the image of a European that we were ordered to worship. And if you know anything about the Crusades of the Catholic Church, it was to force people to be Christians. Christianity has been used from day one to enslave people, to manipulate people, and used as an excuse to kill people. So the major part that Christianity has played in the world today was that of enslavement. If it had not been for the church, if it had not been for Christianity, enslavement of Africans would never have taken place, neither would the enslavement of other people. The justification for it was that we were heathens, and simply because we did not believe in Christianity or we did not believe Jesus existed. And the question became, if you are 2,000 years old, Christianity, and we have been on this earth for 4 million years, and we have been worshiping or we have been submitting to a single deity, not multiple gods, but one God. So what makes you think that Christianity overshadows the spirituality that we have been engaged in for 4 million years? So that is the reason that Christianity had to be forced on people worldwide, because people were spiritual, they were not religious. And religious have doctrines and dictates of what you should do and what you should not do. And as I said, they are divisive, because even within Christianity, you have Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, etc. So if you want to understand the Bible, where the Bible came from, rather, the Bible came from a group of white men who manufactured 66 books, actually more than that, because the Catholic Bible has more, but manufactured this thing called a Bible, which simply means books. And this Bible has been used for imperialism and colonialism throughout the annals of time, and it is still in process today. And it is called, as it has always been, but now it's called Christian nationalism. And Christian nationalism is what Christianity has always been from day one. And we are just beginning to look at it through the eye of spirituality and see the lack of value in Christianity because of what it has justified over the years: the murder, the genocide of large numbers of people, and has been used to conquer lands, especially South America. That's why most of South Americans are Catholics. It's because they were forced to embrace Catholicism. And there are Baptists who would tell you, there are Methodists who would tell you that Christianity is different from Catholicism. if Christianity is different from Catholicism, then a baby is different than his parent. A woman has a baby, and that baby will always be a human. It would never be a puppy. So, with Christianity having come out of Catholicism, the tenements of Catholicism are deeply embedded in Christianity, and all of them are the same. Are there any questions so far?
No.
Reb,
Wait a
anyone?
minute, no, George,
on the-
George, no, not you. I want to ask the guy, what's it, Steve? I want to ask him first.
All right, I'm listening. What you
No, I'm
want to
asking you,
ask?
are there any questions?
No, I have no questions. No, I'm listening.
Okay,
I'm like a sponge. I'm soaking it all in.
okay, that's great. George?
Reb, by way of a Kabbalah, could you please talk about the significance and the influence of the female?
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes, I will.
earlier this week, Steve and I were talking, and I asked Steve, I was like, well, what you gonna do? And Steve said, well, my wife said it ain't time. And I said, man, way to trust your wife. And I applauded him trusting her influence of what she brings toward humanity. So if you could give a summary of that, if you don't mind,
Okay.
or anyone. Thank you.
Well, let me do this, and I want to do it quickly because there is something that we really want to talk about this evening that's extremely important for us to understand. It's piggybacking on what we dealt with yesterday. What happened is Christianity changed the personality of humanity. What do I mean by that? Christianity flipped everything on its head because men became gods. Men became the controllers of the lives of females, the controller of the lives of family. Men became the ones who were in charge of governmental entities. And all the men who were in charge of governmental entities and control of the economy of the world were white men. And that is the same to this day. Men in Europe, men of European descent are the ones who sought to dehumanize the female. And by doing that, they were, without them knowing what they were doing, they were actually teaching us to dehumanize feminine energy, which females represent. In a Kabbalah, men were one with the females, masculine energy and feminine energy were functioned together with an understanding that the god or the goddess was feminine. And if you look at the word for spirit, Shekinah is feminine, which means that every aspect of spirituality is feminine. And the reason it is feminine is because no one or nothing, no thing can bring anything into existence unless it is birthed from a womb. And therefore, where we are now is recognizing, embracing, and being grateful for the understanding that our ancestors has brought to us in regards to the female or feminine energy being God itself, and females in the earth being manifestations of that energy. And prior to that, African women in particular have been denigrated by everybody, including Black men. Because white men have taught Black men that they are supposed to be in charge of everything. And Christianity has taught the same thing, when that is not the case at all. we have been taught to think with a European mind rather than a mind out of a Kabbalah or a mind being in the mindset of the priesthood of Kemet. We have been taught to think like Europeans, and it is imperative that we understand that the reason the world is so chaotic and is in such danger is because of the mindset of Europeans. And now, where we are in the process of bringing to manifestation the mindset of Kemet. The Kemetan priesthood is the energy that we desire, and the ancestors are guiding us along this way so that we can bring into the earth loving kindness, righteousness, and unity. Unity among humanity without divisions based upon greed, hatred, and race. Does that help, George?
And gender.
And gender, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Steve?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm right here. Yeah, so the European mindset and European men primarily being in charge since this doggone country came into its conception has put this country on a path of destruction and don't know if it's too late to turn it around or not.
Well, that I won't get into because it's already turned around. The manifestation of
Right.
it being turned around is Kamala Harris being a candidate for president. And if we get to when we get to what we want to discuss this evening, you will see the spirituality in her being a candidate for president. And matter of fact, not just a candidate, she is going to win. So this everything is already turned around. It's just manifesting now.
Okay. So this already preordained that she will be president of these United States. And
I'm ordained. Yeah, we have
Yes.
already seen that. We've declared that would be. And we have seen the spiritual road pathway for her to become president. There has been no person that Donald Trump could not label except for her. None of his name sticks because she is the manifestation of God in the earth. Now, when I say European mindset, I'm not only talking about people of European descent. I'm talking about people in the earth who think like Europeans. If you don't cherish femininity or the females in your life, if you seek to lord over them, you have a European mindset, and that is no different than a European. Tim Scott has a European mindset, and that's no different than a European. So the color of your skin, does not determine whether or not you have a European mindset. It is your actions. It is your belief system.
Pastor,
Yep.
Yes, Barbara?
I'd like to add that even though Kamala Harris will be the next president, that does not mean that we sit on our laurels and do nothing. We still have to do what we do. We have to vote. We have to encourage other people to do it. It is not saying that we have absolutely nothing to do. That's not what we're saying.
Not at all. Thank you, Bob. Not at all. we still have to vote. We still have to do what we're supposed to do. And I repeat the charge from Michelle Obama. What you gonna do? What are you going to do? Not what everyone else, but what you gonna do. Ask yourself that. Because we have to be about the business of bringing into manifestation what we just talked about. Okay. Lavon, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Miss Peanut. Lavon, Lavon looked deeper into Kamala Harris' name, and I really want her to get into that today. And however she does it, let's receive it. And add your big comments or questions. So go ahead, Lavon.
Yeah, when Nick mentioned her name on Saturday, two things resonated with me. One, it was a name I never heard of or seen before. And two, it was like, okay, it was interesting what he said. And I thought, well, I need to research it also. And then yesterday, there was such a powerful collective discussion about her name and what it meant, and along with the lotus flower. So as I said, well, you know, and I did try to get in yesterday, but it was so powerful, and everyone was bringing so much to the table collectively that I didn't think I needed to say anything because so much had been said, and whether I was going to repeat anything or not. But as I dug deeper into her name, and I know the excitement that the majority of people in the country and in the world are having around her name, the enlightenment of her name, and the hope that is given people and the excitement. But for us who are on this journey, being an African female, and the femininity and the spirituality of her name, we know it meant so much more, and that's why the discussion yesterday was so powerful. But as I was still looking more into her name, Kamala, there was so much about the spiritual awakening of her name. It was also the blossoming of one's soul. It was, and we discussed a lot of this yesterday, the perfection. It means superiority, completion, accomplishment. There was, and strength, and it just went on talking about the intelligence of that name, the strong, sharp-minded person of this name. But also, I know we discussed a lot about the lotus flower, her name meaning the lotus flower. And in that discussion, I said, well, the lotus flower, I said, you know, we discussed it, but I don't remember if it was mentioned, but the lotus flower has 12 petals. And so as I'm sharing this information, I'm also sharing it in the sense that I'm still looking for answers, or these are questions like, how does this all pull together? So her name being the lotus flower is also the heart chakra. And it's also, like I said, 12 petals. And those 12 petals are harmony and peace. And as the discussion was going on yesterday, Evelyn kept saying, well, the flower comes out of the mud. And every time Evelyn said mud, all I could think of was wisdom. And she would say mud, and I could think of wisdom. And then Evelyn also tried to explain something, and she wasn't quite sure how to get that question out. And I can't answer her question for her because she didn't really get it out. But it resonated with me that there was something about that mud and something that she knew was more to it. And I'm not saying I'm answering her question, but as I was looking into it, I thought about it, and I said, well, you know, mud, it didn't say it came out of the ground or the soil. It came out of mud. Mud is the combination of dirt, soil, and water. So it's coming out of this water. And of course, with living with GC, you know, I thought of the waters of none and the deep and the dark. And so this flower is emerging from this
dirty water. But it said mud, but I'm looking at it more so in what the significance of this water means. So all of this is just things that kept coming to me, and I was thinking about, and so when I was reading it, it said that the lotus represents the rebirth of the sun, blooms during the day and closes at night, returning to the murky water. And the muddier and more opaque the water, the more brilliantly the lotus flower shines and rises to life to the water's surface. And it said to the water surface. It didn't say above the ground. It said to the water surface. So all of that, I'm trying to figure out how to tie it in with it being the water and the darkness and the wisdom of it all. And so along with all of this, I'm like, Kamala. And then I was like, her name is Kamala Devi. I never heard of Kamala. I never heard of Devi. And Devi is spelled D-E-V-I, and it's pronounced Devi. And every time I looked up, I said, okay, Kamala Devi. Devi, the first word that came up was goddess. And Devi also is both feminine and masculine also, just like Kamala's name is both feminine and masculine. So this goddess, and then all the words that went with the goddess was that Devi means heavenly, divine, excellent, a strong, compassionate person, an exalted person, a shining one. And so, I was just telling Pastor, I didn't know, after looking everything up, it's just like, how does all of this come together as the spiritual African femininity of her name and what it's bringing for not just the United States, but the world as a whole, for humanity. So that's what, as I was researching it and just trying to pull it all together, and I don't have it all together, but it's resonating with me.
What fascinated me was Kamala and Devi. All of it is divine. Both
Right.
is divine, but also it is both feminine and masculine.
Yes.
And that's hand in glove with what we were talking about the manifestation of the goddess. The energy of femininity is not her, the person, as much as it is the spirituality that the person represents or is manifesting.
And there was
Anyone
one
had-
up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, the other thing, it was funny as I was going through this, I went to say something to GC here, and he was working on the same thing, because right now she's 59, and that's 14, which is 5. Her birthday is October the 20th, 1964, which is also 5. So George, of course, wanted to share exactly what that 5 meant, because it represents her age as of right now, and it also represents her birthday.
Good evening, everyone. When LaVon, was, doing her research, I wanted to look at the numerology of her birthday. And, when I was looking at her numbers, the ruling number actually came out, the root number came out to be 5. But 5 is the number of manifestation. It is the synergy of the forces of nature. And when we were talking about the essence of a Kabbalah, it talks about the 5 elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether. But in terms of the spiritual essence of the number 5, it aligns to freedom. That was something that was spoke about during the convention, freedom. The freedom to feel and pursue that which your heart with purposeful joy and bliss. And so again, just looking at the number 5 and talking about the manifestation, talking about the Kabbalah, talking about the energy, you know what I mean, that is being put out there in the macro, you know, this is the synergy of the forces of Akebalon, you know, having its effect with regards to all that has transpired in the eternal waters of none. And this was all there at the beginning. And I know, Pastor, you mentioned that it's not just about her name. You know, it's not just about her, but it's about what's happening in the universe.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is a time again that I think that we are receiving, you know, from the goddess, Mayat. We talked about the importance of spirituality when the question was asked early by Steve, but we know that our ancestors were taught by nature. They were taught by the synergy of the, you know, forces that was given to them, you know, in terms of their relationship, you know, with the cosmic consciousness, earth consciousness, and organic consciousness in terms of how all of this is flowing. So I just wanted to share those thoughts in terms of, as LaVon was looking at her name, I just wanted to try to understand what the numbers meant. And her root number was number 5, but her actual ruling number was 23. And 23 plus, well, 2 plus 3 is 5. So I think that it is some meaning behind it all. I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done, unless there's any questions.
I have a
Anyone-
comment or any question.
Go ahead, Evelyn.
Okay, I'm listening to you guys talk and the family talking, and I heard what LaVon said, but I thought about something. You guys were saying that Kamala can be either masculine or feminine. At the end of her name is Ma. And I thought about that. That's why I see Ma, feminine, the mother of the universe. She's taken on that role as the mother of the universe, or to control, or to be in, I can't say what I'm seeing, but at the end of her name, there's Ma. And I know there's some significance to that as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It does, yeah.
So anyone else want to speak before I do?
Yeah, well, Pastor,
Comment,
before you
question?
before you do, Evelyn, I just want to say to you that when we talk about the Mayatian or the Mayati coast, it speaks about mathematics. And I just want to say this brief thing. If you look at the 13th alphabet, the 13th letter in the alphabet, it's the letter M. And in that letter M, when we talk about Maya, it talks about Ma, but it talks about the wisdom of the owl and the significance of its recepts and percepts. So again, there's a lot to it, and I know that as time go on, it'll come out in the spirit realm, but Ma is of essence. So I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done, Pastor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. Anyone else?
This is Audrey. I kind of had when LaVon was talking about the lotus flower and how it rises up, all the roots are attached in the mud, and then it rises up and it hovers on top of the water. That kind of gave me a thought about how the spirit hovered over the water when the earth was devoid. Anyway, that just really stood out to me as a physical manifestation of that particular concept.
That's probably where it came
Would
from.
that be an allegory?
Yes. Audrey, that's probably where it came from. Because
Yeah, maybe.
the reason I say that is because that flower held spiritual significance. And the spiritual significance to that flower is that according to the Kemetic priesthood, we are people of the mud. All of humanity came from the mud. So the spiritual significance of that also the 12, the 12 zodiac. When she said that the birth of the sun, the whole idea of 12 months in the year came from the Kemetic priesthood. So all of these are intertwined. And when George said something about the manifestation, I think it was George, one of you guys said something about the 5 is manifestation. What is being manifested? Everything in her name speaks to the manifestation of authority, of feminine authority. And I think we talked about this earlier about Michelle Obama being the African mother on the throne, and Kamala representing that feminine authority, that feminine power that is necessary for bringing the earth to a place of harmony. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
So I think it's a lot in that we are not seeing. Ron?
No,
were you
go ahead.
about to say something?
I was, but I'm looking at something right now. I'll get back with you. Thank you.
I would like to just add to what George said. I mean, he may have said this. The 5 is also a symbol of balance and harmony, and we already talked about it being linked to freedom. It also represents embracing change. It represents seeking inner knowledge of self as well. Listen to the class.
So all of this is speaking to that what we're talking about. I mean, speaking to the change that's already manifested.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
I have one question, Ray. During all this time before all this, happened, she was not seeking the presidency. She was good for where she was with Biden. She didn't know that it was going to be done to, the presidency going to be laid in her hand like that.
You're right. She did know it. And quite frankly, no one expected it, because when she was first chosen as vice president, she was chosen because they didn't think she would overshadow him. And when she was chosen as vice president, most of us who follow politics closely did not believe that she could handle that position as president. What I believe happened is that the Creator put her there so she could learn the presidency, not learn it the way that it has been, not learn it the way that the presidency has been throughout all of these years, but learned the nuances so that she could do it the way that is supposed to be done. And we hear that when she talks about the price gouging that she seeks to end, the health care for everyone, making sure that people have a livable wage as opposed to just trying to stay above the poverty line, those kinds of things. That in itself is a manifestation of femininity. And just like every African village follows the leadership of the village mother, so here we are in this space in this land that to us is a foreign land, meaning a foreign consciousness, because this is not our consciousness. Here we are now in the process of bringing the consciousness of Kavalon to this country and to the world at large. Because Kamala Harris, as I mentioned the other day, I didn't delve into it. Kamala Harris is also a descendant of the Cushites, and as well as a descendant of enslaved Africans in this Western Hemisphere. So I believe that the spiritual genetics that she carries with her will give her a deeper insight into the Kemetic way of thinking, which will definitely guide her to a place where she truly makes a difference and no one will be able to stop her. The last thing I want to say in regards to that for now is white men are not afraid of her. And what I mean by that is white men who have sought to walk away from that European mindset, African men who have sought to walk away from that European mindset, they're not afraid of her. The people who are most afraid of her are people like Elon Musk, billionaires. That's who's afraid of her. People like Netanyahu, who is a genocidal maniac. Those are the people who are afraid of her. Because they fear her because they know that their road is coming to an end. They will not be able to stop her. Just like people cannot explain the origin of the excitement. They will not be able to explain the origin of the wisdom that she will be using in order to bring this earth to the place where it was supposed to be from the beginning. I'm done.
Even yesterday we were talking, and I'm listening at the description of her name, and a lot of the things that were said speaks of action. And I was listening to it again today, especially some of what LaVon was saying, and she talked about the heart chakra. I think this description of her name, or her name period, not the description, her name, her character speaks to us. And it is not so much at this is describing her, but it describes the world that we have created and what our responsibilities are. A lot of this talks about balance. The heart chakra talks about balance and how if you are feeling balanced, you feel open-hearted, you feel love, you feel empathy, you feel that balance, you feel the trust, you're more tolerant. And if you don't feel that, you're demanding, you're not kind-hearted, or you start having physical problems with the body, those kind of things. So as we listen to all these descriptions, we see ourselves, we see the stuff that is manifested in the earth as spiritual energy that we help to bring to life or to awaken. And I think it speaks to us and what these responsibilities are as we unfold this. I think that's why one of the importance anyway of us looking at her character in this way.
I appreciate LaVon and George researching this further and bringing further insight. It really has opened things up even more for me. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Wow.
It had for me too. It gave me a whole insight.
Thank you, Charles.
One more question, everyone. This earthquake is happening. I don't forgot the name of the country. Does that have any kind of condemnation to what's going on now?
Well, you know, yesterday they had a earth slide in Alaska, tore half the town down in Alaska right now. And you know it, where in the Bible it states of things going on and that hasn't been going on in places like in Turkey and Indonesia, earthquakes and typhoons and stuff of that nature, and it's all coming into fruition.
Even in the Bible, it was the Christians said.
But I can't use the Bible because the Bible has no basis in what we're talking about right now.
It does. Yes, it does. Because there are truths in the Bible. Yes, there are truths in the Bible.
Okay.
We can never throw it away because regardless of how you manipulate something, you will never rid it of what it was originally intended to be, especially when it comes to spirituality. Even though every effort was made to make that book or those books, what would make those books justify, rather, everything that the writers wanted it to justify. You cannot wash the truth completely from those words that they wrote. The Bible is replete with truth, but it's also mixed with a lie. And
yeah, because you got different. You got the King James version. You got what's that? The Gliding Light, the NIV. You got.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. I'm not talking about different versions. I'm not talking about different versions. I'm talking about, regardless of the version of the Bible, it has truth in it. I'm saying that it is impossible to take all truth out of the Bible. And that is why it is so important that spirituality is taught by people who are spiritual, not by people who are religious. Religious people only see what their eyes can see. Spiritual people only see what their eye sees. So it's not about the different versions of the Bible at all. All of them tell the same lie and the same truth. All of them do. No differently than the Quran. The Quran is predicated on the Old Testament, and it takes in parts of the New Testament when it talks about Jesus and Mary, as does the Torah. It is the Old Testament. So all of them have the truth and a lie in them. All that we are saying is that in order for us to glean the truth or separate the wheat from the chaff, we have to be extremely cautious when we do that and be guided by the ancestors, because they are the ones who have seen it all. They are the ones who were there when began and begun. And we have separated ourselves from them. And now since we realize that they never left us. We left them. Now that we realize that, and now that we embrace their presence, we are now able to see things or be guided to see things as Nick did with Kamala, as Levon has done with Davy, and taking Kamala, the name deeper than what we saw earlier, as well as the numbers. The gematria of the name tells a story. However, if you look in the Bible at numbers, the numbers that are used in the Bible, religion does not make any effort to understand what those numbers mean or what they speak to. That's religion. So spirituality does do that. And the idea of manifestation does not come with religion at all. The idea of manifestation is spiritual. Religion sees nothing but what it wants to see. Spirituality sees all things. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right?
Yes, sir. Good discussion. Well, are we done?
No.
Okay.
Reverend Richards told me to bring back up about the lady I was talking about that was depressed.
Yeah, I will. I want to address that for a short time. Okay. Let me. Okay. I started to say let's do it on Saturday. What do you guys think? And
I think
see,
more,
go ahead, Ron.
no, I was just going to say I think more people will hear it on Saturday, but
Okay. Well, the rest of you, Kathy Neal, you good with that?
I'm not going to be here Saturday. I'm going to be on vacation.
Okay. Well, the main thing I want to say about it is this, that Christianity has taught us so many things that is adverse to our free will. And one of those things that it has taught us is we have a tendency to deal with people on the basis of how we feel as opposed to how that person feels. Do you understand what I'm saying? If anyone doesn't, please say so. Okay. We have a tendency to do that because we are told that if you are saved, then you need to talk to those who are unsaved, and we're the ones who make a decision about who we think is unsaved. So we are dealing with people on the basis of our feelings rather than theirs. And Christianity has also given us a license to tell people what to do based on how we feel. And when Kathy was talking about the lady going into the room to have audience with her husband, and then come out depressed, the more I thought about that, I could not let it go. So I called Kathy Neal to talk to her about it, but I could not let it go. And why could I not let it go? Because the more I thought about it, this was her way of coping with the death of her husband. And if she was getting solace from that, then she should be able to go in that room and receive what she needs for her to get through the day. If she comes out of that room and is depressed, then the question becomes, why are you depressed? And why do you feel the way you do? As opposed to telling her how she should feel. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is this: we have so much of religious Christianity left in us until we have to continuously filter it. And if we don't help each other filter it, it will never be done. So, and there is no doubt in my mind, and no one else's for that matter, that would cause me to think that Kathy Neal is one of the nicest people I know on earth. And there is no way that she would do anything to hurt anyone. Not going to happen. That's just not who she is. And I would vouch for that anywhere, anytime. It's simply we are filled with the doctrine of Christianity, and it makes us feel superior. We don't think that way. We say we are servants, but the way we are taught to act, we act as elitists above those who are not Christians, or elitists above those who are seeking and understanding. The lady going into the room to talk with her husband, that's the place where she has contact with him, because that's the last place she left him. That's where they had their intimacy. That's where she nurtured him as he was dying. That's where his energy is. And I'm not saying that all of his energy, I'm saying his energy is there. And that is how she copes, and that's how she grieves. And that's a part of her grief that she's dealing with. Does that make sense?
It does, Pastor Jay. So are you saying we just deal with people where they are?
Yes, absolutely. We have to deal with people.
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad you asked that question, Evelyn, because when you deal with people where they are, you don't tell them where they are. You understand what I'm saying? I don't.
That resonates. Yes.
I can't tell you how you feel. I can't tell you where you are in your thinking. However, I can deal with you. I can help you if I hear what you are saying to me. And hearing what you're saying to me is not me making decisions based upon what's already in us from our Christian journey that we were on some time ago. Catherine, does that make sense?
Yes.
Anyone else would like to speak to that?
Well, I just think that it's healthy, and it's been a part of our past, for generations. I mean, I think all of us have heard people talk about seeing so-and-so or talking to granddaddy or a mama or somebody, and it's always been a part of us. And through religion, we've been taught that almost everything that we do is wrong, or everything we do,
Yes.
and that's probably how we have sort of lost our vibrations and how to feel things and experience things, because we've let it be taken away because we feel shameful that we do these things.
So I have a quick question. Hasn't he essentially become part of the ancestors?
Yes.
And seeking guidance?
Yes.
From him as an ancestor now?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Well, yes, you're right. Yes, he is an ancestor.
Sorry, say again?
Yes, he is an ancestor. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And even when we talk to the ancestors, or we seek guidance and comfort from the ancestors, we still need each other. Because I remember when I finally got to the stage of grieving my mom, and actually, I had not grieved anyone in my family but died. And when I got to that place, I know my mom is in my present. I know my grandma. I know that the ancestors are in my present, and I'm not just talking about my biological ancestors. I know that they're there. However, I was sitting on that porch, and I was not even thinking about the death of my mom. And all of a sudden, it hit me. And what I did, when I couldn't handle it by myself. So I called Kathy and we talked about it. And when I say we talked about it, pretty much she just let me talk or let me cry and let me not purge myself, but feel the grief that I needed to have felt long before my mama transitioned, because I never grieved my grandmama or my aunts, none of them. So all I'm saying, I suppose, is even though we receive comfort from our ancestors, there are times we just need somebody to listen, you know, just to listen. There are times we need somebody to embrace us, especially when there are tears. And here we are.
And Pastor, may I add one more thought to that too? This is Kathy, and I just wanted to say I was thinking about, I agree with everything that's been said, and even in the situation where the lady may not even understand anything about ancestors. The thing that impacted me when Kathy Neal told us about that, the first thought I had was, let her talk. And what I mean by that, she had been going in the room. My first question would have been, what have you received the other times you've gone in the room to talk to him? Because for some reason, I got the feeling from Kathy when she was saying this was not the first time she had gone into that room to feel the presence of her husband. And at other times, she may have found solace or peace or whatever she was looking for, but also going to the doctor, not wanting to get a bad report about blood pressure or anything else. I know every time I go to the doctor, I'm not even concerned about blood pressure, but it's always higher, and they always tell you something funny about coming to the doctor. Your pressure and everything is always higher than it normally is when you're at home. And it's a name for that. There's a medical terminology for that. So maybe in the back of her mind, she was a little worried about that. And then when she got there to the doctor and didn't get the answer she wanted, I never thought that it was that the husband didn't give her the answer and all of a sudden she was sad. I think it was just part of the grieving process. And so the thing is, letting her talk it out, let her talk through it, and letting her feel like it's okay to continue to go in that room and talk to him. But obviously she had been receiving something prior to that doctor's visit. And I was just always the counselor in me, and just knowing what we know spiritually about understanding the ancestors and how we connect spiritually anyway, made me wonder what is the rest of her story, because there's a story there. And that one conversation was just a snapshot of what she's been doing to get through her grief. And now I wonder what is the rest of the story. And I don't know, Kathy, if that makes any sense at all to you or what, but I'm hoping that it just helps you to see too, and helps us all to see that the only way someone can work through grief is by telling their story and talking through it. And my thing is, I ask more questions to lead them into self-discovery and understanding how they feel about something, as opposed to interjecting how I feel about what they're saying. Because sometimes, believe me, I've heard some things that I went, whoa, okay, and thought about that. But that's their journey, that's their story, that's their truth, and they have the right to walk in it. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
You know what I'm glad of? That Kathleen didn't tell her I'm gonna pray for her. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm so glad because there are so many times we tell people we're gonna pray for them and leave them in their grief, leave them in their pain, leave them in their hurt. But being there with them and repeatedly being there for her because obviously she trusts you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go ahead, babe.
I said, yeah, 'cause I told her, I'm here. If you need me, I don't care what time of day, what time of night, just call me.
Yeah. So you being there for her, and at some point maybe to embrace her and sit down beside her, either in that room or on the sofa, wherever, and just let her talk.
Because I think she needs, a lot of times we say if you just want to scream, just scream.
Yeah.
If that's gonna relieve, like the hurt or the pain that you're experiencing at that time, just scream. And she had been doing, when Kathy was talking, she had been going in that room ever since he transitioned. And so it's like, well, today when I talked to her, she said, I went to the doctor and my blood pressure was still up a little bit, and she said, but I've got to go back tomorrow. And I just told her, I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, like that. And then, she began talking, but I found where I'd be watching her sometime, and she'd just be sitting like she's in a daze, like she just, like I'm lost. I don't know what to do. And I know that's because he's always been in church with her, every Sunday or whenever, he was always there because that was the church they was brought up. Well, they wasn't brought up in that church, but that's the church from when they got married. That's where they always been. So, I feel like, I'm there. I get her sometime and take her with me and tell her I'm going so and so. You want to ride? And then I go pick her up and and take her back. So I'm there for her.
And that's being there for her is great because she definitely needs somebody to be there for her. None of us can function without having somebody there for us. Human contact is very important. Any other questions or comments?
No. Y'all will be on here Saturday morning at 10 a.m.?
That's correct.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you for
Have a
joining
good
us,
rest of
Steve.
your week. Thank you for inviting me. Well, George invited me.
Yeah, well.
Thanks, George.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget 10 and Monday night at 6.
Okay.
Okay.
And Sunday at 11.
Okay.
Yep. And if you forget, ask George. You know the times.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Y'all have a great rest of your week.
You too, Ron.
Thank you.
y'all. Again, questions or comments, jot them down, y'all. But thank you. Good study. Have a good week.
Okay.
Ron, this is Angela.
Hey, Angela.
Hey, I got a quick question. So are we meeting the upcoming Monday, which I think is Labor Day? I think it is.
That's up to you. Let's approach that on Saturday. Remind us Saturday, okay? All right, Angela.
I won't be on Saturday. I'm working, but yeah, I won't be on Saturday.
All right, we'll let you know. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your evening, everyone.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.